Each and every Monday, I go over the biggest risers and fallers in average draft position, aka ADP, in the best ball markets. I'll discuss whether I'm buying or selling these players at their new prices and why. The idea is to get you up to speed very quickly on what's happening out there in drafts and how to adjust. First one I want to talk about is George Kittle. George Kittle up 1.5 spots to 65th overall on Underdog. Obviously, this bump stems from the Brandon Ayuk trade request, which was formalized last Tuesday. My take on that Ayuk stuff remains the same. I've talked about it plenty on here. I expect Brandon Ayuk to be a 49er this season. That's how I'm playing it. The 49ers are going to look like the bad guy in this whole mess. It's going to look like they're screwing Brandon Ayuk and they're being cheap. But really, I'd more put the blame on the NFL and the NFLPA for the way contracts and cap management is set up. I mean, the Niners can retain a very, very good player in Brandon Ayuk relatively cheaply for the next 2 years. This season on the 5th-year team option and in 2025 on the franchise tag. From a strategical standpoint, the Niners would be silly not to do so. And so Ayuk is really left with no option. If he holds out, he's going to get fined $40K or something insane every day. And the Niners are trying to win the Super Bowl. And they need him to win the Super Bowl, I think. So I just don't see any leverage for Brandon Ayuk here. But anyway, I don't want to get bogged down on all that. The reason that I like Kittle, or I'm at least okay with Kittle here, especially on touchdown-heavy sites like Underdog, and especially in best ball, is because Kittle's ability to break weeks is just insane. Since 2021, Kittle has 4 games of 25 or more half PPR points. And that's just absurd. And it's absurd, especially in the context of the tight end position. Now, the flip side of that is Kittle also, during that same span, has 17 games of fewer than 5 half PPR points. So those really low floor games can be really tough to stomach in redraft. But in best ball, it's a smash, right? Because I'm pairing Kittle with someone else. I have some Kittle Noah Fant teams, which I like a lot. And I have Kittle with 2 other, 3 tight end teams on DraftKings that include Kittle. But the bigger point is one that I want to reiterate. I think this year, the top 8 tight ends are unusually strong. I honestly can't remember a draft season in my life where I thought the top of tight end was stronger and also the back of tight end was weaker. So yeah, when it gets to that Kittle part of the tight end tiers, or even Evan Ingram, I prefer Evan Ingram in full PPR. But yeah, I prioritize getting one of those, especially for large field stuff. Just going to be tough to match and win a 500 or more person final. I think at least one of those top 8 tight ends is going to go for a 20 ball or something that's really tough to beat in half PPR. Second riser to mention is Kimani Vidal, up 1.5 spots to 158th overall on DraftKings. Thought Leone and Ben Gretch had a really good conversation about this Chargers running back spot on their Establish the Edge projections preview show. Side note there, if you're serious about fantasy football, I'd honestly consider that 8-part series that's rolling out now on Establish the Edge podcast absolutely mandatory. But anyway, back to Kimani Vidal. So I've taken stone cold zero J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins is a guy who was limping around on one leg in 2022 after that devastating 2021 knee injury, ACL, LCL, meniscus. Dobbins last year gets back, maybe was healthier. I still don't think healthy fully, and then just blows out his Achilles in September. I mean, brutal. Legit feel for the guy. But this is borderline impossible stuff to come back from, I think. 2021, absolutely devastating knee injury, not a clean ACL, and then Achilles in September of 2023. So, yeah, I think Dobbins, fine. I'm fine writing him off. Gus Edwards is 29 years old, some declining efficiency stuff. I'm okay with Gus Edwards, certainly not fist pumping it on him. And I really doubt the Chargers are either. So I do get the appeal on taking shots on Vidal, who went off for 297 carries, over 1,600 rushing yards, 14 touchdowns at Troy last season. But man, this is a guy who went in the 6th round of the real NFL draft in a wildly weak running back class. I mean, the class was so bad, and Vidal was still the 15th running back off the board. 15th running back off the board in the draft. So I'd love to just ignore this spot, right? But I do think that this Chargers team will be trying very hard to run the ball, and they have a reasonable enough offensive line, Greg Roman scheme to do it reasonably well. But now we're talking 158th overall for Vidal on a full PPR site like DraftKings when there's a risk of taking a 0 on him. I mean, I'd much rather make this Vidal bet in redraft where if he doesn't show well early, I can just dump him for something exciting that's going on early on waivers. But in best ball, I'm not going to chase him up the board. Maybe that will bite me because one good shred of camp news and he's going to skyrocket. You just need one tweet from Daniel Popper being like, Kimani Vidal got first team reps today and he's going to go skyrocket. So maybe it's a leak, but he's already getting expensive for me given lack of clarity on role and draft capital. I mean, 6th-round picks get cut all the time. Dameon Pierce, Miles Sanders remain trade candidates. Maybe Samaje Perine gets cut. There's the Javonte Williams rumors, etc. So, my point is perhaps the Chargers aren't done with their running back room, especially if Dobbins doesn't show well in camp. Third and final riser I want to talk about today is Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb up 10 spots to 130th overall, also up 5 spots to 121st on DraftKings. So this one is all stemming from a video that was circulating of Nick Chubb squatting last week. The video shows Chubb squatting what looks like 585 pounds just 8 months after he blew out his knee. And the market just completely loses his mind. I mean, up 10 spots in a week on Underdog is insane. Remember that Chubb's knee injury required 2 surgeries, one to repair the meniscus and the medial capsule, and another to repair the ACL. And remember that this is the same knee he blew out in 2015 while playing for the University of Georgia. So I've drafted a little Chubb so far, but very little. I'm just fine betting against these kind of rehabs. That said, I'd be lying if I said the video didn't give me some pause. I mean, 585 pounds is probably way off Chubb's max squat. It also didn't show him cutting or moving laterally. He's not getting hit. So I thought about it, and I really think the market is overreacting to that video. And so I'm happy that he's going higher now in that 140 overall or later range. He's certainly tempting in some builds where you have running back production early, but up at 130 and 121, I'm probably passing. I prefer his teammate Jerome Ford, prefer Chase Brown, prefer Jerry Jeudy, prefer Austin Eckler, Zach Charbonnet. I think Chubb is just a tougher bet to make than guys like Jordan Addison and Rashee Rice. I'll get to that more in a second here. Because on Chubb, we don't even know if he's coming back. We don't even know if he'll regain the efficiency that made him so special. And we don't even know if he'll regain full role / workload. I'm be pretty skeptical on that. So yeah, feel okay about the Chubb fade and kind of want him to be going higher. Let's get to this week's fallers. First faller is Javonte Williams, Broncos running back, down 2.5 spots to 114th overall and sinking fast. So I've thought about this a bunch, mostly because I was pretty confident recently, a month ago, whatever, that Samaje Perine would be getting cut from this Broncos backfield. And if he landed with, say, the Bengals or the Cowboys or the Chargers, that would certainly affect the running back rooms there. The latest rumors, though, is that perhaps Javonte Williams could be cut. And that is going to absolutely tank his ADP. Not getting cut. I mean, the rumors that he could be getting cut is going to absolutely tank his ADP. I said he's down 2.5 spots this week. He's going to be down way more than that next week. I want to be clear on a few things here. First, no one has actually reported anything. Many people, including columnists, not reporters in the Denver media, have speculated about Javonte Williams possibly being cut. Second, keeping Samaje Perine, who is 29 years old, on his 4th NFL team over Javonte Williams, 24 years old, former 35th overall pick, that would be an interesting choice by the Broncos. Not one that I would make. And related to that, not every running back returns to 100% within a year of an ACL or LCL tear. I'd personally give Javonte Williams entering year 2 post-injury a chance, a year 2 chance before I declare that he's dust. Third thing I'd say about this backfield is Jaleel McLaughlin is 5'7", 187. I suspect some people are projecting too many carries for him. So if there was a market out right now that I can bet, I would bet Javonte to lead the Broncos in carries this season at even money. Doesn't mean he's going to be a good fantasy player, but that would be my bet. I think he has a greater than 50% chance of leading the Broncos in carries this season. I don't think that the Broncos love Javonte. I don't think this new Sean Payton regime loves him. But my bet would be he makes the team and he leads the team in carries unless Audric Estime blows the doors off. And by the way, Silva is in love with Audric Estime. We'll talk to him more about all this soon. All that said, Javonte was probably a good fade when he was going around pick 100, but I could see his ADP sinking all the way into the 130s as the aggregator. I mean, maybe even 140s as the aggregators have gone absolutely buck wild with this quote unquote story, which is really just random people speculating about Javonte Williams' status on the team. So if it gets into that 130s, even 140 range, I would be taking Javonte there. Still, I get why people are skeptical here. I'm expecting 3 running backs to get touches in most games for the Broncos this season. They have the 8th toughest schedule based on opponent win totals. They have an average implied team total this season of 19.0 points per game, 31st in the league. Betting market's only expecting the Patriots to score fewer points per game. So I do think the running back room is going to catch a bunch of passes. Sean Payton offenses always have extremely high running back target shares. And given how late all 4 of them go, it's a spot to watch. For now, I'm mostly taking Estime late in touchdown heavy formats. Javonte, if he drops into that 130 range, and a little Jaleel McLaughlin as part of Bo Nick's backdoors on full PPR. Second faller is Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison down 12.8 spots on Underdog to 79th overall and sinking. God, this guy. So you remember in July of 2023, Addison got pulled over for going 140 miles an hour in his Lambo in a 55 mile an hour zone at 3 o'clock in the morning. Got a citation for speeding, reckless driving, told the cop that his dog was having an emergency at his residence, and that was the reason for his speed. And, I didn't really believe him, of course, but once you invoke the dog excuse, I got to be on your side. I do prefer beasts to humans. And if Jerry was having an emergency, my dog Jerry was having an emergency, and I needed to get home, I mean, I wouldn't be going 140. I don't think my Honda Pilot can actually go that fast. But yeah, I'd probably do 90 or 95 on a highway. Yeah, anything for dogs, just the best creatures on earth. But okay, no discipline for that incident. Fast forward to this July, just this last week, and Jordan Addison was arrested for suspicion of DUI. Some rumors out there that it was weed, not alcohol. I have no idea there, but regardless, I think Jordan Addison is likely facing a suspension now. And similar to the Rashee Rice situation, we don't know when or for how long the suspension will be. Guess on Addison is 4 games, but really just wild guesses. I'll say that in both cases, all field stuff aside, these are the kind of bets that I want to make in all formats, not just best ball. Ideally the suspensions will be early in the year, before bye weeks, before my teams are inevitably crippled by injury. During these suspensions, the guys won't be getting hurt. They won't be getting tired. They won't be getting banged up. They'll be fresh. We know they're good players. I really like the year 2 profiles of both Rashee Rice and Jordan Addison. So as the ADP tanks on Addison, and we saw this on Rice too, there's kind of this initial big jolt where the ADP tanks massively, and then it bounces back when people calm down a bit. So yeah, on teams where I get a lot of wide receiver production early, and that's most of my teams, tacking on Addison as he tanks towards 90th overall, I think is a nice boost. And again, that's for all formats. I'm just trying to build teams that are incredibly strong come late season where all the money is in DFS. All right, last one is a quick one. Chris Olave is down a spot to 21st overall on DraftKings. Just wanted to highlight this because I think this is exclusively due to the red out tag Olave has next to his name on DraftKings. We know this isn't a serious issue. Saints placed him on the NFI list to start camp because of a shoulder injury he sustained while lifting. He can come off the NFI list at any time and be fine. Fully expect him to do so. My point, though, and there's a few guys like this now, especially on DraftKings, that they have marked as questionable or out. By understanding how those injuries are actually going, we know the Chris Olave thing isn't serious. We can take advantage of that. and kind of push guys through. Now, Olave goes so early, it's harder to push guys through. But yeah, like guys that go in the 150s, they have a Q tag, they have an out tag next to them. I'm willing to wait on those guys because I think a lot of opponents, especially in lower stakes stuff, are going to think, oh, I can't take that guy. He has the out tag. He has the questionable tag next to him. I'm not taking him. So yeah, just something to watch here as we get more and more casual people into the best ball streets as training camp hits. All right, that is going to do it for this week's Market Monday. We'll be back later this week with Silva and Thorne to talk about the most important things you need to know about offensive lines for the 2024 NFL season. Also, we just released our first run of auction values for this draft season. If you have DraftKit Pro, be sure to check that out. You can always find everything that we have updated in the menu. For producer Luke, for editor Jackson, for the most beautiful beast in the world, Jerry, I am Adam. Good luck, everybody.